This examines abundant living as a way of life, which is exactly what we have been doing. And we're examining today how to create abundant living as a way of living, as a way of life, all the time. And here's an interesting tidbit about that book and about Charles Fillmore. You might not realize it, but the year that this was published was 1936. Well, what was going on in this country in 1936?
The Great Depression.
Yeah, the Great Depression. So it's a pretty bold move, I think, on Charles Fillmore's part to write this book on prosperity consciousness in the middle of the Great Depression. But why not? Why not? When else? And you'll see why. You'll see why. I think I have that historic perspective. And the reason I bring it up is because it really has a lot to do with this talk and making it more meaningful on the way that he wrote this book, Prosperity. This is Charles Fillmore, the spiritual substance from which all visible wealth is never depleted. It is right with you all the time and responds to your faith in it and your demand on it. It is not affected by ignorant talk of hard times, though we are affected by our thoughts and words, and they govern our demonstration. Pour your living words of faith, he says, into the omnipresent substance, and you will be prospered though all the banks in the world might be closing. Very powerful. Realizing that when it was written. So today we're going to explore the concept of rich ideas and rich living. Yes. But there is something else that I'm feeling really called to do, to bring that into the talk today, because it's going on all over, and especially right now in this country. And we're all aware of it, that a year ago this country was very divisive, and today, a year later, it is still very divisive. But whatever side of the fence that you might fall on, we're definitely not here to debate sides. I think it's accurate to say that some emotional healing needs to take place all the way around. And that needs to happen today. And you're going to find out why we really have to have these emotional blocks cleared out so that we can live a full life, no matter what. No matter what. This is actually, that whole background part is related. Well, it's related to all of us, but it's related to this topic. Because we cannot be filled with rich ideas and experiences and live a rich life if we are all clogged up emotionally. Nothing can get through. You know, when you're in resentment, when you're in fear, nothing can get through. It just can't happen. Being emotionally clogged is like a dam. It's like a dam around our hearts, holding back the mighty living waters of God's inspiration that is always moving through us. It's always moving through us. And ideas, clarity, and creativity, and all of those waters will be held back until the dam is broken through. Not only do blocked emotions act like a dam, holding back that flow of inspiration and ideas and clarity and creativity from being expressed through us, but blocked emotions are also like a solid brick wall, keeping the abundant flow of good from overreaching us. We cannot live a fulfilling, rich, abundant life when we are in a state of constant fear. Well, we hold it back. We're walled in. We are walled in within us. So I don't think any of us really want to live that way. So this is part of the deep, high, holy, spiritual work to clear those blocks that we absolutely must do. In The Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes wrote, that means God. God is genderless, so it is ready to fill everything because it is infinite. So it is not a question of its willingness, nor its ability. It is entirely a question of our own receptivity. How receptive are we to the good that's always present in our life? It's not just to a few. It might look that way, but it's not. We are all heir to the kingdom of good, and just always remember that. We are not receptive if we are emotionally blocked, plain and simple. And yet, we can still do a spiritual bypass, which are emotions, with our emotions also. And I think most of you know what a spiritual bypass is. Well, if you don't, you're going to find out now. Clarify it a little, because we don't want to do that. And in New Thought circles, I know when I started out in New Thought, that was about, oh, don't say that, don't say that, say this, say that. I mean, and then what do? You feel guilty if you actually name your feeling, and you stuff it, you repress it. And so it's still creating in our subconscious. So we don't want to do that. We want to feel our emotions. So if something is hurtful and upsetting or bothering us, we might immediately say, it's all God, it's all good. Divine right order is taking place. We are all one. God's goodness is at the center of all things. And spiritually, that is absolutely 100% correct. That is absolutely correct. That's the spiritual truth. But if immediately we go to those spiritual affirmations, which are just so powerful, but without acknowledging and truly feeling whatever we are feeling, then the unacknowledged, clogged feelings are stuffed and actually become the bricks, the building bricks that build around our heart, and they build around our receptivity. So let me say this part again because it's very important. Without acknowledging and truly feeling whatever we are feeling, the unacknowledged, unfelt feelings are stuck and actually become the building blocks of that dam within us, and they close down our rich life or rich living. But of course, if we stay feeling those feelings, there are people who are walking around and they're always doom and gloom. Maybe you know a couple, I do. Yeah, they're always got the worst scenario. They're going to tell you the newest thing that happened on the news, which we know is so true. Okay, I'm not going there. But I still got some work to do around the news. But anyway, we are building that dam up, and so we want to feel the feelings, but we don't want to stay stuck in those feelings because that's taking up residence there. And I've said this many times, when you're going through hell, don't stop and build the condo, because that condo, that can be an uncomfortable place to live permanently. And we all know these people who live in hell, because hell's here. Hell isn't there, wherever the heck they said it was when I was growing up. It's here now. Heaven is here too. It's what we choose to experience. So I ask you a very important and pointed question this morning, which does not require a verbal answer, but please answer it to yourself in complete honesty within your own heart. If you have a spiritual bypass, if you have spiritually bypassed your feelings, please do what you need to do, whatever feelings, for whatever feelings you might be having. Speak to someone who is in the same kind of space as you. Call one of our practitioners, book a session. It's well worth it. They will help you clear away those stuck feelings and bring you into an atmosphere of openness and receptivity. Whatever it takes. Meditate, pray, affirmations, all of that is really important. But we want to feel let me make that clear. We want to feel the feelings first. Acknowledge those feelings. Or if you're living in that condo of resentment, upset, fear, etc., could today be the day where maybe you could let that healing begin? There's no better time or other time than the now time, right? Remember, once again, blocked emotions act like a dam holding the flow of rich inspiration and ideas, clarity and creativity. And they also they add to that building block that surrounds us. Nothing can come in. We keep it all out because we want to feel safe. But sometimes staying safe in life is being very limited, very limited. I remember when in these teachings, when I first came into them, I mean, I didn't even know it, but after a while, a year or two, I'm like, there's a wall around my heart, and I didn't know it. I physically felt that wall. So it's like brick by brick. And I've been in these teachings over 30 years now, and it's still brick by brick had to be taken apart. So we don't want to, we hold back the good. I held back so much good with that blocked up heart, and we don't want to do that, trust me. It's not fun. It's not fun. So if you can't see a practitioner, then join a class. All these classes, you're with like-minded people. I mean, we had such a phenomenal class, last Tuesday in Foundation. It was on immortality, right? You think, oh, we can talk about death for 3 hours. Man, was that feeling good when everybody left. That was the most uplifting, right? The most well, maybe not for you, but it was for me. The most uplifting being around like-minded people. It really uplifts our spirit, and we can open up and let the good flow through us. Remember, once again, blocked emotions act like a dam holding back the flow of rich inspiration and ideas. And so by doing that, by surrounding yourself with uplifting, like everyone here, you're here today. This is a space where you can just relax in, where you're safe here, with no judgment. You just absolutely relax in the love that is created. And I can feel it in this room every time I walk in. And by doing that, you have created an abundant space for ideas and inspirations to flow through. So let's widen them even more by looking at this profound message from Prosperity. Charles Fillmore again. It's very rich, a little long, but bear with me because it's good. We are sometimes asked whether we advocate the accumulation of riches. No. The accumulation of riches is futile unless it is the outgrowth of a rich consciousness. We advocate the accumulation, rather, of rich ideas. Ideas that are useful, constructive, he says, and of service to the well-being of all humankind. The outer manifestation of riches may follow, or it may not, but the supply for every need will be met. It absolutely will be met. Where was I? It will be, the supply for every need will be forthcoming because the person of rich ideas has confidence in an all-providing power that never fails. So true. He or she may or may not have an extra dollar, but the ideas have merit, and the ideas do have merit, and he or she has confidence. A combination, he says, which cannot fail to attract the money to carry him forward. This is true riches, not an accumulation of money, but an access to an inexhaustible resource that can be drawn on any time to meet any righteous demand. When a person has a rich consciousness, and it's all about everything is consciousness. It's all about a rich consciousness. There is no necessity for laying up gold, he says, or accumulating stocks and bonds or other properties to ensure future supply. Such a one may be most generous with his wealth without fear of depletion. Think of that. He's never depleted, because his rich ideas will keep him in constant touch with abundance. It is all about consciousness that connects with the great consciousness. God is consciousness. God is energy. And that's the consciousness we want to be connected to, because that is endless. It is so rich. So, yeah, how rich is our consciousness? Well, we were born very abundant beings. We were born that way. And that last line is so very powerful. I'm going to just repeat it one more time. Such a one, meaning the one who has a rich consciousness, may be the most generous with his wealth without fear of depletion, because his rich ideas will keep him in constant touch with abundance. God is abundance. It lacks for nothing. There is no lack or limitation in this energy. God is energy. Energy. We're all energy. That's why we're all God, because we're all energy. And that energy is always flowing, unless we have thoughts and emotions that block the energy from flowing. And I love the idea that ideas are God's first currency, because they are. It thinks, and so it is. That quick. We do a whole circle with the lines to let us know how the creative process works. You know, that's infinite God, which is not contained within a circle. And our thoughts are in that top third. The substance or law is in the second, and the bottom is the effect. And when we're not blocking that, that just keeps flowing instantly. So all of our needs are always met. And I don't just say this. I live this, I prove this to myself all the time. So say this, if you will, after me. My rich ideas have created rich results.
My rich ideas have created rich results.
Explain that as you're good, yeah. Your rich ideas may bring forth a new job, a new opportunity, hey, a new health care plan. How about that for today's world? Oh, one you wouldn't even, in fact, I heard of someone They told me a story about how they manifested a rate that's even lower than what they're paying now because of the consciousness. It's all about our consciousness. So, new inventions, they come from ideas. Where does an invention come from? An idea, right? And this whole talk is about rich ideas. And did you know, this is really, I love this. This is so interesting. That most of our important inventions happened during the Depression. It changed the way we do things, these inventions. And here are just a few. I'm just going to name a couple. Jacob Schick grew up designing the world's first electric dry razor after he was fed up with lathering up to shave in the freezing cold, since he did not have heat in 1929. His razors were on the shelves. This is how the company is known today, as Schick came about. Very successful, right? The car radio, which I never listened to, but the car radio, which people seem to love, was invented by Paul and Joseph Galvin, who needed new revenue after the financial crash of 1929, right? Designs were drawn in 1930, and in 1933, Ford was manufacturing cars to include radios. Later on, the brothers changed the name of their company, Galvin Manufacturers, to a company you might have heard of, Motorola. Comes from an idea. Here's a really important, this is an important one to me, might be to you. Chocolate chip cookies evolved in 1933. Did you know that? What did people do before that? Well, I wasn't born, so I don't know. Ruth Wakefield couldn't get any baker's chocolate to bake chocolate cookies, because that's what people ate, chocolate cookies. So she decided to break up a chocolate bar and put them in her cookie dough instead, resulting in chocolate chips. Well, Nestle bought her a recipe, and the rest, as they say, is history, or herstory, in her way. One more. I could go on. It's so interesting. After J.F. Cantrell noticed that only wealthy people who had electricity available could use the powered washing machines, he opened the world's first laundromat. In 1934, he charged people by the hour to use his 4 washing machines. Now, I grew up, the first 8 years of my life were in England. We had no electricity. And we most certainly didn't have washing machines. We had those ringers. I feel like we lived 200 years ago. It's really amazing. And then I come here and I see a bathtub with people in bubbles, and I'm like, wow. But anyway, this is true. This all happened during the Depression. Finally, one more. The game Monopoly. It was invented in 1935 after Charles Darrow decided to give people something to be entertained with after all the sadness that the Depression caused. Yes, rich ideas definitely create rich results. I love the way, this is great, and I love whoever talked about magic. It must have been Reverend Rita, or Barb, Reverend Barb. Yeah, Reverend Barb. Okay, because in her book, Big Magic, she comes up with this great idea, ideas, so good. Her book, Big Magic, shares how inspired ideas function. It's a fascinating twist, and it bears repeating today, so I'm going to repeat it today. She suggests that we think about ideas as energetic life forms that float all around You float in the ethers. They're floating everywhere. Think of it this way. God expressing as creativity, which we know, energy is creative, is an infinite number of formless ideas that are floating around. At this point, the ideas have no material body. They're just floating around in the ethers. You can't see an idea. You can't see an idea. You can't see an emotion. But in Gilbert's viewpoint, Elizabeth Gilbert, they are driven by a single impulse to be made manifest in the physical world. The trick for many of these formless ideas is that the only way they can be made manifest in our world is through collaboration with a human being, or a human partner, let's say. Therefore, ideas spend eternity swirling around us. They're all around us. They're around us right now. There's so much we can't see. We live in a multi-dimensional universe anyway. Searching for available, willing human partners. When an idea thinks it has found somebody who might be able to bring it into the world, say one of us, why not? It will pay us a visit. It will try to get our attention. Chances are fairly good that we won't notice. Perhaps we are so consumed by our own anxieties and fears and distractions and insecurity that we don't even notice these great ideas as they land upon us. And so we're not receptive to this inspiration. The idea will try to wave us down. But when it finally realizes that we are not open at all, it moves on, looking for another human to share its inspiration with. This is what Gilbert writes. Elizabeth Gilbert writes this. But sometimes there comes a moment when you are open and relaxed enough to actually receive something. Your defenses might slacken, your anxieties might ease, and then magic slips through. The idea senses your openness, will start to do its work on you. It will send the universal physical, emotions of, I call them God bumps. You know, we've all gotten those, or your hair stands up on your neck, the chills, like this is really inspirational. And then in a quiet moment, it will ask, do you want to work with me? Has anyone ever had that experience of like an idea and you got these like really, this incredible like, wow, yeah. And it didn't come from you sitting down, thinking about something. It just like dawned upon you. And I know how many ideas, not even ideas, but opportunities, which means I was there available and they came to me and I said, oh, no. I don't want to do that. Oh, no, don't train me to be an assistant buyer of gimbals. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. No, I want to do this. No, I don't want to be run that very successful nightclub. No. So all of those were ideas for a richer life for me. But I turned them all down because I was not ready. I was not open enough. So you get to a point, though, when the ideas flow through you, if you're open enough, you have, like I did, the choice to respond, yes or no. So I was closed. I've been open for the last 20 years. Yeah, even longer. 20 years, yeah, to let these ideas land on me and actually say yes and take these steps. You have to take action when the idea lands on you. And to take these steps. That's how this place was formed, Joyful Gathering. I didn't sit down and think about it. Did I, Carol? No, she was with me. The only live witness I had. No, it just landed on me and I finally said, oh, okay. And just took steps and steps and steps. And the universe kept providing all of these things. And now I am independent. So I was able to take that big step away from that toxic relationship I was in for 42 years. So I am now open to even better ideas, right? These are these ideas that are floating through, but we have to be open and receptive, and we have to say yes, and we have to take action. So, Gilbert writes this: I have been approached by ideas that I know are not right for me, and I've politely said to them, I'm honored by your visitation, but I'm not your girl. May I respectfully suggest that you call upon someone else? Whatever your response, though, do be sympathetic to the poor idea. It landed on you. It was a good idea, but it wasn't for you. So that happens. Remember that. All it wants to do is to be realized, and it's trying its best. It seriously has to knock on every door that it can. So funny, isn't it? All these little ideas are floating around us. You might say no, and that's perfectly fine. When you say no, nothing happens, right? Nothing happens. Nothing can happen. With you and the idea then leaves you and moves on to someone else. But here's a really important idea to get. Have any of you had an idea, decided for whatever reason that you did not want to pursue it, and then that same idea brought into form by someone else, and you sit there and say, that person stole my idea. I was just thinking of doing that. Well, you didn't acknowledge the idea when it floated to you. So it went on to someone else who did listen. So it was carried out. Well, we don't ever want to think that again, because we, my friends, were not open. We were not open to accumulating it. And so it found someone else was. No blame, no guilt. It wasn't our time. Just complete, this is important because we teach complete responsibility. So we're responsible for our lives. We're responsible for our decisions. We're responsible for the life we live, not someone else. So we have that choice. Then again, sometimes rich ideas for expressing the greater life, land on us, and we receive the universal physical and emotional signals of inspiration, those God bumps, or sometimes it's a fear in the stomach, a little anxiety, but we do it anyway. That's important. Then what? Okay? Then what? Well, we can approach it with fear of, can I do this? Am I good enough? This is what we all say, most of us anyway. Am I good enough to... I didn't say anything, actually, but really, who knew how to start a spiritual center? Who knew? I didn't know. I didn't study. I didn't put that on a vision board or even pray for it. No. This rich idea came forth into form, and I took the steps. We can embrace this inspiration, be entirely mesmerized by the idea, and then roll up our sleeves and get to work. Follow up. You have to follow up. That is what Charles Fillmore is telling us to do when he wrote. In this passage that I read earlier, we advocate the accumulation of rich ideas. Ideas that are useful, constructive, and of service to the well-being of all humankind. So I have a challenge for you this morning. First, if you want to be the person upon whom the rich idea floating around in the ethers will land, if you want to become an inviting receptacle, then you must do your forgiveness work. You have to forgive everybody all of the time. Part of being open and receptive. Even if you don't like what that person, you don't like what's going on, you still have to do that forgiveness work. Because anything else will block up your emotions and your receptivity to the ideas that are floating around for you. Feel good. And then when those ideas land, don't ignore them. At least give them some thought. Think about them for a bit. And don't let fear ever stop you from catching them, or acting upon them. Don't let that fear stop you, because that mind of ours, it will stop us. So there's a million reasons why this, oh, you can't do this. Oh, you know, those things, those inner voices. Ernest Holmes, and I'm finishing up, I swear. Ernest Holmes, this is just so rich, I want to get it all out. Ernest Holmes, in Creative Mind and Success, gave us some great wisdom when he wrote this. When we feel that we do have the right leading, when that something inside us tells us that we are led, then no matter what it appears, we must follow it up. Something beyond our intelligence is doing the thing through us, and we must do nothing to contradict it. Great men are the ones who get the vision, then go to work to make it come true, never looking to one side, but single-pointedness. You hear that a lot in New Thought. Single-pointedness and calm determination. Stick to the thing, he says, until it is accomplished. So whatever idea you have, my friends, whatever idea, big or small, doesn't make a difference. Go for it. I say, what's the worst thing that can happen? Go for it. Only good can happen. This is how you deal in currency of ideas. There's a currency, a richness of ideas, and how supply will fulfill your every need forthcoming. It is because you have become a person with a rich consciousness, and you are living a rich life. And so it is.